एक ज्वेलर के लिए ई कॉमर्स एक बहुत डिफिकल्ट सब्जेक्ट है। आसान नहीं है एक अपना ई कॉमर्स वेबसाइट बना के अपना माल खुद बेचना। जब एक नेशनल लेवल का प्लेटफॉर्म बनता है ई ज्वेलरी जैसे, आपको देश में से बहुत अलग अलग हिस्सों से कस्टमर्स मिलने की अपेक्षा।
This concept of e-jewelry has been a fantastic one. It gives customers a wide variety to choose from, almost 18,000-20,000 designs that a customer can go and select from. Right from kundan and all the thing, right to a small coin. Another positive point about e-jewelry is that a customer gets to choose online and also gets to see it himself or herself.
लीजिए चाय।
अरे वाह, डायमंड ब्रेसलेट और चढ़ाऊ नेकलेस। लगता है पूरा इंडिया घूम के शॉपिंग की है।
नहीं आंटी जी, बस ई जौहरी पे गई और पूरी इंडिया की ज्वेलरी घर बैठे ही मिल गई।
सच में?
We truly hope our delegates are having a fantastic time at our various expo in the break zone, meeting and connecting with our partners, getting to know more about their products, and of course, getting to know more about B2B and B2C in the expo zones in the main lobby area. For now, our panel discussion on synergizing online and offline, the new normal, and I'd like to extend a very warm welcome to our experts right here, our panelists joining us. We have with us Mr. Ashish Pete, partner, Vaman Hari Pete. A warm welcome to Mr. Ishu Datwani, founder, Anmol Jewelers. I'd also like to extend a warm welcome to Mr. Rohan Narang, managing director, Hazurila Legacy. Let me also extend a warm welcome to Shailen Mehta, founder and managing director, eJohari. A warm welcome to Mr. Vinod Hayagreev, managing director and director, C. Krishna Chetty Group of Jewelers. And of course, once again, joining us as the session chair is Mr. Naveen Tadarangi, founder, News. Over to you, Naveen.
Thanks a lot, Isha. And you know what? This is a big high because in this panel, we have some of the, the most leading jewelers of this country. And with the best that they have, y'all have all put this whole thing together as ETB Jewel. It's a great honor to be in this, select camaraderie. You've introduced everybody in just one line. I'd like to, share a bit more about each of them so that it'll set the, context for the questions to follow and for the rest of the audience over there. Okay. Ashish Pete, from Vaman Hari Pete. I mean, I always thought Vaman Hari Pete is from one part of Maharashtra, Dadar, do dukan, teen dukan, char dukan. I was surprised to know today that Vaman Hari Pete is spread over 3 states. They are there in Maharashtra, they are there in MP, they are there in Goa. There are 26 stores, and Ashish told me that even the 5th generation of their, of their family has joined the business. Ishu Datwani, on the other hand, is a jeweler who almost everybody knows. Like, I mean, whether it's a manufacturer, whether it's a retailer, whether it's an online player, whether it is a wholesaler, everybody knows this formidable brand from Bandra, Anmol Jewelers. And Ishu's always been a trend-setting jeweler right from the day when he thought about getting into jewelry. Like, and he's first generation, and beyond being a client and a co-venturer on a project, he's also been a close friend. So welcome, Ishu. And we going further, we have Rohan Narang. Rohan Narang comes from Delhi, a very strong, formidable giant of a brand, Hazura Legacy. Rohan is 3rd generation. He's got some fantastic jewelry. They are there at Southex. They are there at the Gold Souk in Gurgaon. In fact, they're also there at the B Jeweled section over here. I saw Regalia B2C, and I was experimenting, and I was going there, and I saw some fantastic jewelry with Tara Sutaria was wearing, which was from Hazura Legacy. So welcome, Rohan, out here.
Thank you.
Vinod Hayagreev, he's like a champion from South. He's somebody who, beyond holding the legacy of C. Krishna Chetty, he honestly also upholds the legacy of the jewelry industry. He's been a front runner at most of the trade shows, trade events. He's been holding a lot of positions. He's somebody who I always look up on for trust, for integrity, for ethics. The whole industry looks up to him as someone who's been there as legacy and who's among the front runners when anything new happens. So welcome Vinod Bhai and thanks for joining us. Shailen Bhai, who's not actually a retailer, but let me put it, Shailen Mehta is a retailer, is a retailer's retailer actually, with his platform, which is something very new and just evolved in the recent times, which is eJohari. He's given a, he's given a presence to a lot of family jewelers, independent stores to host themselves up there, to get a first taste of what online selling is, to, to actually experience for themselves before they actually decide to go the online route. So welcome Shailen Bhai to this panel, which is all about, synergizing online and offline for the future of the jewelry industry. Okay. As we go further, and let me just start with the retail part, because there are four of us who are prime retailers over here. Okay. The first ponder point that I want to put forth, when we return to our businesses, and I understand that Delhi has started, Bangalore has started, Maharashtra is semi-started or not yet started in the full hog in the jewelry industry. Besides the hygiene and sanitation factors that will be in place or have already started being in place, beyond that, is there something which is a fundamental change either in the operational working or in the customer service experience or in the selling methodology that you guys have put in as far as a consumer is concerned? Forget the hygiene, sanitation and gloves and all of that. Uske alawa humne kya kya kiya hai? Okay. Let me start with Ashish. Ashish, why don't you tell us what plans you have with Vamanhari Pethe as we open up?
Thanks Naveen and Vijita and team ET Visual for having me here for this wonderful session. And thank you Naveen. This last 2-3 months have been tumultuous for all of us. And we have been learning, relearning different things about retailing. But since this pandemic has come in, as you rightly said, that the hygiene factors and sanitization, that is a given now, everyone is doing it. I think the change in terms of operations that we are seeing is that the attendance of the staff coming into the offices has substantially gone lower as per BMC norms, and even traveling in Bombay is a tough. So has been the number of walk-ins that have been coming in, which are substantially lower. So it is getting more personalized, so to say, because the number of walk-ins has come in, and many of the selling processes that were happening in the showroom, a part of that processes are happening offline, that is not in the showroom but online through video calls, and some selection happening through WhatsApp chats and things like that. So customers are spending less time in the showroom, and what they were spending 70-80% of that time they are spending at home, coordinating with the sales staff. So the sales staff has to be tuned to this kind of selling, where 80% of the selling happens at home and the final 20-25% of the selling happens here. So the selling skills will have to be upgraded. In terms of operations, we'll have to optimize our operations, because we'll have to reduce our costs, and with lesser number of manpower we'll have to attend to people. So the internal structures we'll have to rework. And as a trade, we need to work on increasing the margins. I think that is the most key. Thanks.
Okay, thanks a lot, Ashish. Over to you, Ishu. Your perspective on what new things beyond sanitization that Anmol would be looking at.
So, first, let me just quickly recap the number of people walking into the store. So we've been open almost 7 days now. First couple of days, there was nobody. Then there were 1 or 2 people. And by yesterday, we had 4 people walking in. So 4 people walking in, starting from 0 and 1. It shows slowly that there is some kind of a confidence that's coming up, which is welcome. Also, the other big difference is the conversion rate is almost 85 to 90%, because only serious buyers are coming in. What is also happening is that we are showing jewelry on video calls, and so the major selection is happening there. And then we are sending people home with the selected jewelry. So rather than sending 20 items, the guy is finally going with just 3 or 4 items, and then the client is making a final kind of a decision. What I think is very important over here is that we need to display to the client confidence in terms of, making sure that there is no fear factor. I mean, the client has to feel confident that if somebody is coming from Anmol or from whichever other jeweler, all the norms would have been adhered to, so that there is a clear, confidence that this person would have been either tested or some kind of a thing done where, we know that this person is safe to come into our house. So we have to, demonstrate and show that confidence. And as that happens, things will start opening up, and, people will also start coming into the store.
So what you're saying is trust beyond the jewelry, purity, design.
Exactly.
Now, trust is going beyond that, even to the to all of these other pandemic
Absolutely.
players. Very good, fantastic. Rohan bhai, you're on the stage now.
Right. So good afternoon, everybody, and thank you, Naveen, for your kind introduction. So just building upon the points that have already been discussed so far, I think what going forward, one thing I think we all as retailers would have to do is reimagine the conventional concept of a brick and mortar store. You have people, you expect people to walk in, you have counters, you have jewelry displayed around the store, you try to beautify it, you try to make the experience nice. That's been happening now, and it's been getting refined as best as one can for the last 10, 15, 20 years. But now, given the situation that we find ourselves in, where technology will come into the mix in a big way. So, like just this last 1 month, we've, been taking, virtual appointments. We've been taking video call, WhatsApp call appointments. We've began our virtual augmented reality try-on feature. So, these are a few, steps which I think are eventually going to be the new normal, because just relying on, the walk-ins to automatically come back to normal, which eventually they might, maybe towards the end of the year, towards the middle of next year, maybe, it's going to take its time, but we can't just, sit and wait for things to just change overnight. So we have to adapt, we have to keep evolving. And I think technology is going to be, a big factor when it comes to achieving that process.
Thank you. Vinod bhai, you started the store earlier than all the others over here. If I remember right, Bangalore went going first.
Yeah, we opened on the 4th of March, and we gradually moved from 33% to 66 in 15 days, and another 15 days we moved to 100%. As far as the sanitization, of course, there are about 66 different touch points that we have, including tracking of people where they are living and where they are moving around. We are tracking them on a real-time basis. On it, we've done something very interesting by having a certain what we call mascots, who are responsible for checking if the COVID advisory procedures are actually followed right through to the last mile. So it's we don't want anybody sacrificing the standards, because at the end of the day, it's not only their health, it's also our client's health, and the client's health impacting our team's health. So how do we use technology for all of these? Of course, other than the fact that we've gone paperless, which means that there is no paper in the company now. We started this project, of course, in November last year. This accelerated it during the lockdown. We had a lot of technology interfaces that we built on. We did a lot of designing projects. We've had 15 design projects that we completed during the lockdown itself. So in a manner of speaking, we used all of that to almost look like we were normally working. So we were closed for about 50 days or 45 or 50 or 60 days. And all of those days, we were actually connected. We were actually having a full-time workforce. We had 45 members who are fully working. which is approximately about 8% of the workforce. But the balance, of course, were at home. But we tried to, use technology to ensure that they are safe and we had no depression syndromes and things like that, because otherwise people being at home may feel, and there were a lot of them who were away from their families. If I were to, come to the main topic of discussion today, how do we bring technology to the fore to the consumer? Yes, there's a phenomenal amount of opportunities that are available. All that one needs is to think. Just the same as you never had cell phones, so we are now looking to have various kinds of technology to service clients, to make jewelry, which using a little bit of chips in the jewelry. We're actually looking at a GPS tracking thing on inside our jewelry. So it's not just a COVID attack on COVID or protection against the COVID, but it's more to do with when technology has become part and parcel of people. Even the most traditional housewife is probably using Zoom today. So it becomes that much more. I know people who are 80 and 90 years old are asking their children and grandchildren, hey, come and configure, these applications on our phones and on our iPads. So therefore, this technology sales will zoom in this country, as it has been one of the largest imports. But how we use that is, I think, the important point. I will just stop at this point, let everybody state, and then I come back to it again.
Yeah, there's a question specifically for that, Vinod Bhai, as we go further. Okay. Now, Shailen Bhai, I have something for you, because you are actually marrying jewelry and technology together, and you're the only one who is doing something different beyond brick and mortar retail. So my thing to you is that in the past, in many categories, technology has been a game changer, for some categories. So when you talk about pagers, which came for a short time and they just went away, and there was a mobile phone, there was camera, and there was Kodak, and there was camera rolls, and suddenly the digital camera and the thing all goes away. Now, I'm not saying something radical like this is up ready yet for the jewelry industry. But as far as, your offering e-jewelry is concerned, or the way you see it, Shailen Bhai, where do you think that technology is going to be a very radical changer for the conventional jewelry retailer? Shailen Bhai, up to you.
Yeah. Thanks, Naveen.
Yeah.
So yes, technology has been the game changer for practically every industry, and we are seeing that in the last 10 years, with the Amazons and the Flipkarts of the world growing in front of us, we have already seen the technology. As Indians, we have embraced this technology. Particularly talking about our jewelry trade, we have kind of as jewelers, as a whole industry, we have been kind of laggards in this in this motion. In this movement, because somewhere we have always been a slow movers. But with this COVID thing now happening, I'm seeing that a lot of jewelers have started adapting this, have started thinking about this, and they've all agreed and understood that yes, technology is going to be the new thing. Is going to be with. We have to now be with it. We have to now live with it. So just to introduce myself to all of you also, is that as e-jewelry, e-jewelry is India's first jewelry omni-channel marketplace. So what we have done using the technology is we have connected the consumer to the jeweler. We have brought all the jewelers across India on a platform and created a marketplace wherein the jewelers can list their products and market their products. And the consumers, not only in India, but across the world, can actually see those products, can research about those products, discover about those products, and finally can buy those products online, like they can buy it on an Amazon or a Flipkart. But particularly understanding our jewelry trade, we have brought about a very unique idea of actually increasing the footfalls at the stores. So under every product, there is a buy now button, and there is another button which is a store visit. And when a customer clicks the store visit button, we actually encourage that consumer to move to the store and thereby increase the footfalls of the store. So in a way, I think this all changes with the technology will bring about a big change in our industry in the coming times.
Okay, great. So, over here, the way you look at it is technology is actually going to assist the brick and mortar business in a big way also.
Yes, that the future, I think, is omni-channel. It is not going to be completely brick and mortar. It is not going to be completely online also. It is going to be a phygital model for the future.
Okay, so great. So my next question actually has a lot to do with that. The ponder is that, we keep talking about offline, online, omni-channel, or is tarah ke, many more business models in terms of retail models to develop for doing business. Okay. Now, when I look at it from the point of view of a Hazarida Legacy, or I look at it from the point of view, or maybe an Anmol, okay, and even the others, honestly, do you think that technology will have a significant contribution? That significant contribution will it be in terms of revenue generation, or will it largely be used for the purpose of marketing? Rohan, like this question is to you, Ishu, and everybody else also. I'll begin with you, Rohan. Is it largely only as a marketing medium that technology is going to be used, or will it actually help in some sort of a revenue generation model?
Well, that's a good question, Naveen. So, I'd just like to give an example. Like when you would buy, let's say, a watch, you would probably wear that watch, to office, to a party, or to whatever. But when you're buying the watch, the person will tell you this watch has, water resistance up to 500 meters or 300 meters. Now, you're never going to go down that deep ever in your life underwater. But just knowing that fact gives you that confidence with the brand, with the the entire product being foolproof, with being bulletproof. Likewise, coming back to your question, I think technology is not something that you can just place all your bets on and just forget about it. It is going to be another aspect of your regular business, which is going to aid your core brick and mortar sales, your store sales. It's going to direct traffic which you are gaining digitally online and navigate that to your main stores, your retail stores. So when you say omni-channel, omni-channel is basically just having an ecosystem of your presence in various formats. It could be on your mobile phone, it could be on your desktop, it could be on application, it could be, and your store itself. So all these are part of the omni-channel chain. And if you're not there in one of those chains, the link is broken. And the entire omni-channel ecosystem and that orbit cannot exist without it being connected through technology. So technology is not the main focus, but it is one of the main focuses to drive sales, to drive walk-ins, to increase profits and enhance growth.
Okay. Ishu, Vinod bhai, Ashish ji.
Yeah. So a lot of our perceptions I see have changed. Even post lockdown when we opened, we had all of us had a lot of perceptions. We thought a lot of people will come back to sell their gold. Nobody came. So I have realized that a lot of our perceptions are just that. They're perceptions, and the reality can be, different. Now, I always thought that technology can be used as far as jewelry is concerned to sell smaller ticket items. And that's always been my thought process. But a couple of instances have made me change my opinion. But again, there is a difference. So I think on the portal, if on eZori and things, I don't know if one would be able to sell a very big ticket item. But, we've sold big ticket items online because a film star has worn it. And so we've had at least more than 2-3 instances where a film star has worn our jewelry, and we've showcased it on our social media, Instagram and things, and we've got calls from overseas, and I've made sales of a product for 20 to a lakh of rupees, a single product. So which was an eye-opener for me. We never thought that we could sell that kind of a product only by visibility on that Instagram page. The person is overseas, so she can't even look at it physically. And of course, then we shipped it out and things, whatever we did. And this has happened over 2-3 times. But most of these big ticket sales have happened when there are people wearing the product. It's not just the product image, it's a person wearing the jewelry. So I feel, going forward, we need to get a little more innovative, and we can really take advantage of technology to up our game.
Great. Ashish bhai, you already are having a .com, and even Vinod bhai is very tuned to the .com thing. Any reflections, if I can have, 30 seconds to a minute, because I have a last question and we are a little
Yeah.
squeezed. So
If
on
I,
the
Ashish bhai, you go ahead.
Okay. Navinji, very important question. You said online, offline, and omni-channel. What would be your revenue?
model, yeah, that's
Source
the
from?
question. Yeah.
So the kind of customer base that we have currently, and what maybe Hazuri Lal's or Ishubai has, there's totally different. So even in the customer base that we have middle class, lower middle class ladies coming out with a printout from the website or from net that I want this of your collection. So currently, as of now, in terms of revenue, online is not something which is giving us major revenues. It is only the offline or brick and mortar, as you say. Omni-channel, what Shailenbhai is doing is going up, but online is definitely across all our customers. It is experiential or exploring. As I said, 70-80% of the sale happens in their household, and last 20% happens here. So this online is helping. So it's difficult to quantify what percentage of sale comes through it, but online is definitely
It's helping. It's helping. It's a very good marketing tool. Vinod bhai?
Yeah. Okay. See, the way I look at technology utilization is how you utilize it holistically. For example, I think the question was right, Naveen, that you asked whether it is used more for marketing or is it for other things. I think holistically, it's a 360-degree approach to utilization, which means from the time that you produce a product. So therefore, what kind of technology you use from the design phase to the production phase to the the work in progress to your analysis part, and then your sales, your visual merchandising, your online and social media, what happens there, your web sales, what happens there, how are you running your organization? Like I said, I gave you an example of paperlessness. I think we can speak environment, but then are we acting to create an environmentally friendly organization? Are we creating a really truly, are we tracking your see, for example, we've just taken the decision to ban Chinese origin products coming into the business. Now, what does that mean? That means that you need to ensure that you use technology to identify whether it's the blockchain process that will expand from a diamond tracking to other gemstone tracking. Are you able to identify where your sources of your material is coming from? Is your gold duty paid? Are you able to check whether the payment of duty has been done on that bar of gold or whether it's coming from a Dore refinement? How is it happening? I mean, technology has to be holistic. If it is not holistic, you're doing part of the job. So in short, that's my answer.
I saw the Pearl thing that you were doing to get to the bottom of things. There was something which I saw and that seemed pretty interesting about the source of Pearl origin in the all of it. Shailen bhai?
We've been doing origin tracking for a long time. So in fact, all our documents actually have origin on it. So it's even anyone who's walking in. So I'm saying this is the kind of intrinsic development of technology to penetrate every part of the business. So it takes time. We've been doing it for now long time. So therefore, if the process starts, it will take several years. But as we know that we need to compete with the giants of the world's factory as China is, I think it is important that we have that kind of ability. Forget the rules and laws of the government. That's a separate thing that we need to do. We're going to represent to the government. We need to satisfy. I'm sure they are going to be a lot more open today than they ever were. So we are talking about improvement of the individual companies, as well as the government regulations, as well as the labor laws, as well as the land laws, all of that. It all goes, but it's not like chicken or egg. It all comes together at one point.
We just have 1.5 minutes left from what I know. I just want to, say this one last thing. They say the future is not about competition. It is about collaboration. Whether it is collaboration of technology with jewelry, whether it is collaboration of wholesaler with retailer, whether it is collaboration of something with something. Okay. Shailen bhai, you want to throw some light on it so that we can, wrap this in a nice way?
So yes, I fully agree with you, Naveen, that the future is collaboration, and that's exactly the motto of eJewelry. So just to make you understand also that we are an online e-commerce platform, right?
You have to make that
But
quick because we have 1 minute.
yeah, but unlike other e-commerce platforms like a Carrot Lane or a Bluestone that you are seeing, these are e-tailers selling their own jewelry. Here, as eJewelry, we have brought all the jewelers together. So we have embraced the whole jeweler community. We are trying to bring all the jewelers online. So rather than being that, like there are 50 jewelers in a lane, rather than being one more jeweler in that lane, we have actually become a part of that community. And that's how we firmly believe in this idea of getting together.
Okay. Any inputs to this thing from the high-end jewelry side in terms of collaboration and competition? Do you believe that the future is about collaboration in some different way?
Yeah, can I talk? I think it's very, very important for all of us to have a oneness in our thought. We should all realize we are a community. Even dwellers on the same street need to get together and have a common cause, because there's enough for all of us. So, whether it is with vendors, we have to have that same thought process, whether it's with our, all friends in the business community, we must have this thought process of collaboration, share information, help each other, and make sure the community, the jewelry industry goes up. We have enough business. There is very important now that one should not be in lack and one should be in abundance. And when one is in abundance, automatically collaborations will happen.
Okay, thanks a lot. I think I've got a cue from there that they've got another session lined up. We'll have to end on this fantastic note where we talk about the future is a lot about collaborations. It's not only about competition. And as the jewelry industry, we will have to collaborate more effectively. Isha, you're holding the mic now.
Thank you so very much, Naveen. And I think the way you introduced everyone, the way you put everything together, it was just absolutely fabulous. So thank you so very much for joining in. And I'd once again like to thank our panelists for being a part of this very, very interesting and very interactive session indeed. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And as we thank all our panelists, our next session is going to be a live interaction session with a celebrity jeweler designer, Farah Khan Ali. And before we have her on with us, I'd once again like to remind all our delegates that it's your feedback that really matters to us. So what you think about the virtual Conpex, I'd like to request all of you to please go on the feedback tab, which is available on your screen on the extreme right. And please fill that, because at ET Edge, we'd love to know what you think about everything that we've put together, our various speakers, our various sessions. In the next few minutes, right here in the plenary session, we're going to start with our live interactive session with celebrity jewelry designer Farah Khan Ali in the next few minutes.